eyes in the mirror, I wanted a new beginning. A life far away from the crowd, the city, and the people. Quiet, simple, alone. That's why when I saw that old house on the outskirts of town empty for years, I rented it without hesitation. It was cheap. Way too cheap. But when you no longer trust anyone, believing a house could harm you felt ridiculous. Still, I was wrong. The first day in the house passed in the rush of moving. Old wooden floors, cracked walls, peeling ceiling paint here and there. I ignored it all. What caught my attention was the narrow stairs leading to the basement. The door was locked, but a rusty key hung from it. I didn't dare go down then. I was tired anyway. The first night was quiet. Only the wind shaking the windows now and then, and the sounds of bugs in the attic. But the second night, everything changed. At exactly midnight, the old wall clock in the living room suddenly started ringing. I thought it was broken because I hadn't wound it up. Seconds later, a whisper spread through the house. A sound echoing between the walls, beneath the wooden floorboards, as if the house itself was breathing. Faint enough to be almost inaudible, yet undeniably real. I'm here. A chill ran down my spine. I stood up and followed the direction of the voice. My heart tightened with every step toward the basement door. I opened it. The bottom of the stairs was swallowed by darkness. I grabbed a flashlight and took a deep breath before heading down. The basement was like a time capsule. Old furniture, broken toys, rotted books. And in the corner, a large mirror. Old, but with glass so clean it looked as if someone regularly wiped it from the inside. I shone the flashlight on the mirror. I saw myself. Tired, a little scared, but standing. Just as I was about to turn away, I noticed movement in my reflection. A silhouette close to my shoulder in the darkness behind me. A cold shiver ran down my neck. I spun around. No one was there. But when I looked back at the mirror, it was still there. I stepped closer. As I reached out my hand, the moment I touched the glass, an icy hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. It was as if someone trapped inside was trying to pull me in. I couldn't scream. My hand went numb. I fell to the ground, and at that moment, the hand retreated. I looked at the mirror again. I was alone. But I knew deep down I wasn't. I sat there until dawn, unable to sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, that hand, the dark silhouette, that breath kept haunting me. The next day, I went to the town library to find information about the house's history. At first, no one wanted to talk. They gave evasive answers or frowned and changed the subject. Finally, an old librarian quietly handed me a file. Inside were yellowed newspaper clippings and photocopies of an old diary. It told about a family living in the house in 1932. Mother, father, and 2 children. The youngest, 6-year-old David, was found dead in the basement one day. His body was motionless, but his face was frozen in terror. The cause of death was never determined. The story spoke of a shadow entity said to come from the mirror. After that day, the family abandoned the house. A priest was called, and a talisman was placed on the mirror. But over time, the story faded into legend and was forgotten. That night, summoning all my courage, I went back down to the basement. I looked behind the mirror. There really was an old leather talisman, but half of it was burned black. The seal had weakened. Maybe it no longer worked. I decided to leave the house, but stayed one last night. And that night was the longest of my life. Trying to sleep, the images in the mirror burned into my mind. Behind my eyelids, those eyes were watching me. In my dream, David was there, looking at me from inside the mirror, crying, begging for help. But no sound came from his mouth. Behind him were shadows, shapeless but threatening. Finally, the whisper returned, clearer and closer than before. Next is you. I woke up screaming before dawn, drenched in sweat. I looked at the mirror. There was nothing. But inside, I knew this wasn't over. Now I'm in a different city. A new house, a new life, but the same nightmares. I can't look into mirrors. Every time I do, I see a pair of eyes staring back behind my face. Every time silence falls, that whisper echoes. It's not over yet.